Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tara Swagger and today we are celebrating the book birthday of Stolen Things by R.H. Herron. Herron? I think so. This book comes out today as you're watching this video. I got a copy early. Thank you to the publisher and to Rachel, who's the author, for sending it to me. Disclaimer, I know Rachel from the internet. We've been internet friends for a couple years now. I'm gonna share what I thought of the book and a little bit of a reading vlog, like what I thought of it as I was going. I expected to record more vlog entries, but I had to go to Ohio last minute because my grandpa's been sick, and so I didn't get a chance to record. But I did completely finish the book in just a couple days because I loved it so much. So I'm excited to share it with you today. So I don't have on makeup or like my hair done or anything, but I had to show you. I just got book mail. And it is, I believe, the first ARC I've ever received. An ARC is an advanced reader copy. I got an email this morning saying something was being delivered by Penguin Random House. So let's see what it is. Stolen Things by R.H. Herron, who is a friend of mine, kind of. We're internet friends. We've known each other online for a couple years. It's Rachel Herron. She wrote a lot of knitting-based fiction, and this is her first thriller. She's going by the pen name R.H. And it came with a letter from her publicist. What? She says, most aspiring novelists squirrel themselves away to write in cafes or remote cabins, but R.H. Herron chose an unorthodox path. She became a 911 fire medical dispatcher so she would have time to write. August, we're publishing Herron's gripping and incredible thriller, Stolen Things. Although she's written in other genres before, this is Herron's first adult suspense novel, and also her first time being published in hardcover. It's quite the debut. So she's written paperbacks that are both knitting fiction and also some romance. And I'm so excited for Stolen Things. You know, I love thrillers, and I love Rachel, and her writing is beautiful. I'm not a big fan of romances, so I didn't get into her other books as much. This is a sensational crime, a missing teen, and a mother and daughter with no one to trust but each other. I'm so excited. So I'm going to be reading this book immediately, but I just had to show you I got it. Yay!
Hey, so it is Wednesday morning, and I started reading Stolen Things last night. I stayed up until like 1 a.m., which is saying so much as a mom of toddlers who wake up every morning at 7 a.m. Staying up till 1 a.m. is like a real, only the best books can keep me awake that long. And I got to about page 150-ish, and it was just, it has got me in its grip. Like, I am taking it today to speech therapy appointment to try to read like a chapter. Do you remember when I talked about Lock Every Door, that thriller by Riley Sager, how that it was more about how poverty, how like being on the edge of poverty, just a few things can go wrong and drive you to be in a position where you will do things that are unsafe, and you'll stay in situations that are too sketchy just because you need the money, and in that way you can be manipulated. I was reminded by that book when I read Stolen Things, or as I'm reading Stolen Things, because it is, yes, a mystery that is unfolding, but it is really about what it's like to be a teenager now. It follows a mom and a 16-year-old daughter. It's told from their two perspectives in third person. Each chapter is one of them. But so what it's really about is the 16-year-old daughter has a mom who's a police dispatcher and a dad who's a chief of police. The 16-year-old daughter joins a group called Citizens Against Police Brutality. But she grew up around police officers. She grew up like with her dad and her mom being like good. The mystery so far is all grounded in that initial setup. Police chief dad joining a group against police brutality, and kind of how that's all shaking out. I have a feeling that that's super involved in the mystery. And yeah, it's just good. Book that's about more than just the mystery, which I really love. I will say though, the inciting incident is a experience of sexual trauma. So if you want to avoid that in your books, I would say avoid this, although the story starts after that's happened. So you don't see it happen, and the 16-year-old is dealing with the repercussions of that. Her whole family is. And I will say this, like, Rachel, or RH, the author, I know her as Rachel, she has done a really good job of making the 16-year-old act like a 16-year-old in this instance. Like, there's a lot of times that she's doing things that I'm like, that's not healthy. But she's 16, right? So part of it is like she's acting like it's not a big deal. She's focusing on other things. She's mad at her mom. She's assuming that she's in trouble. And I appreciate that. Real life isn't like that. Teenagers are still figuring out who they are. So I just realized I did this whole thing with my glasses on. That's because it's super bright outside. And I'm going to have to get the girls. So I will update you on what I think at the end, because I will probably finish it in a day or two.
So I have finished Stolen Things by R.H. Herron. I am so happy with it. Like, I finished it late at night, and the next morning I woke up thinking about the book and thinking about how much I liked it and how I was going to share with you what I like about it without spoiling it for you. So it is a suspense book, and like I mentioned earlier, when I first started reading it, it's told from the two perspectives of the mom and the daughter. Like I mentioned, there's no unreliable narrator. Like, they are figuring it out and you are figuring it out along with them, which I like. So she gives you lots of clues to kind of figure it out ahead of time, but you're not quite sure. And so if you want like a big, shocking, oh my gosh twist, that's not really what this book is like. Instead, like I mentioned earlier, it's about the reality of police brutality alongside the reality of knowing and loving policemen. And I think what it's really about is not even about police brutality. It's about that people who we know, like, and trust do things that we can't imagine they do, and they let us down. This book again and again reflects the like immediate day we're in right now. It doesn't talk anything about like federal politics or the president or anything, but it's very much what it's like to live in the modern day with social media, direct messages, racial injustice. Like, all of that is happening in the book, which I really liked. Much prefer to see a book reflect back to me the intensity of everyday life. And actually, this is something I haven't talked about before. Let's talk about this. So as a person with anxiety, I often hear from other people saying like, oh, I can't read thrillers and suspense novels or watch shows like Major Crimes or SVU because it makes me over anxious, which I completely get. I think you need to be very careful about the stories that you let your brain think about and ponder and imagine if you already have like a recurring worry about something. That said, for me, seeing it reflected in media is almost like and I've read other people talk about it like this as well, so I know it's not just me, but it's kind of like acknowledging that bad stuff does happen, and yet usually in these stories people make their way through it. They save themselves. You know what I mean? Like, they don't need to find like an elf prince to save them from it, like in fantasy stories. Like, the women save themselves in the stories. And on SVU, for example, a lot of times there's justice for what happened. But I do find in this period of so much being unknown in my fostering life, it is a very kind of reassuring to read novels that like much bigger things are happening, and there's a lot of unknown in that, and the people survive. Also, I find thrillers and suspense novels to be the best thing to read with young children, because if you stop and put it down a million times in the middle of a chapter, and I'm not sure if I shot some footage while I was in the speech therapist office, but I read like half a chapter in the speech therapist office. I read half a chapter while they were playing around me in the living room. And like a suspense novel that has a driving mystery you're trying to solve or driving action is much easier to read in bits and pieces than like a thick literary novel that is like about something much bigger and there's lots of symbolism. Like, it's hard for me to focus on that if I'm only getting to read like 2 pages at a time. So all of that to say, go get Stolen Things. It's out today, so you can order it from Amazon. I'm going to share a link below. If you use my link, I earn like a couple cents, which I will put in my next book purchase. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it at your local bookstore. I will also link to IndieBound, which will help you find your local bookstore from your library, if that's where you get books. Stolen Things by R.H. Herron. Congratulations, Rachel, on having a really great book.